Welcome to the class again. We were discussing about 5+2 cycloaddition. Under acidic conditions, this carbonyl will be protonated so that it generates a positive charge on oxygen. I'll try to write the complete system. Then here this double bond will undergo polarization towards the carbonyl because oxygen is positively charged. It can polarize this double bond towards itself so that it gets negative, it gets neutral. So this conjugated double bond will undergo polarization so that it generates the 5-membered system required it generates the 5-membered system required for our 5+2 cycloaddition. Now you look, so these two are the double bonds and this is the positive charged center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-membered system. Of course, we have 2-membered dipolarophile. So now they will undergo cyclization under same thermal conditions. We can polarize the double bonds also. Because it is positively charged, we need to polarize this double bond towards positive charge. Then we can polarize this lone pair and oxygen so that this double bond will be polarized like this. Okay, so that's why it is becoming carbonyl, and this enol is itself it is there. Next, we will see cheletropic reactions. What are cheletropic reactions? They are also thermal cycloaddition reactions. If one of the molecule is a single atom center among the two, for example, when this diene is reacting with sulfur dioxide, here sulfur dioxide, sulfur atom itself will undergo bond formation across these two ends. So that means sulfur is a single atom which is acting as a dienophile here. So this type of reactions, cycloaddition reactions, are called cheletropic reactions. Cycloadditions in which one of the components is a single atom are called as cheletropic reactions. Even when we look at the elimination reactions, that means reverse reactions, what do we say, retro reactions, then also if a single atom is expelling from the compound, it is called a cheletropic reaction. Here sulfur atom will undergo bond formation across these two ends of the system and it generates a 5-membered ring system. Of course, when sulfur dioxide is there, it is unstable in the cyclic form, so immediately it tries to undergo a retro cheletropic reaction so that sulfur dioxide will be expelling from the reaction. Okay, so the forward reaction is equilibrium exists where equilibrium favors the backward reaction, not the forward reaction. This is called cheletropic addition. This the reverse reaction, we can call it as cheletropic elimination. Cheletropic addition reverse reaction is called cheletropic elimination. So always remember that if you are given a 5-member ring and sulfur dioxide is part of the ring, and if you have a double bond in the ring, then when we heat the system, it immediately undergoes a cheletropic elimination to generate the diene. Of course, sulfur dioxide is a gas, so it will expel from the reaction mixture. Now we will look at how this cheletropic reaction will occur. Right. So when we want to show the mechanism, so we used to use molecular orbitals to explain the mechanism bond formations in pericyclic reactions. So I'll take there are two possibilities that HOMO of diene and LUMO of sulfur dioxide can be will undergo bond formation, or LUMO of diene and HOMO of sulfur dioxide will undergo bond formation. So I'll show both the things. First we will look at that. Yeah, sulfur dioxide, it is sp2 hybridized, where two sp2 hybrid orbitals are involved in bonding with oxygen, and another sp2 hybrid orbital is not involved in bonding. It will have a lone pair. It will have the lone pair. Because of sp2 hybridization, we also have one more orbital. So that is unhybridized p orbital. As you know, it must be perpendicular to the plane of the system. Okay, so for simplicity, what I have written, instead of writing like this, I have written like this. Okay, so that means oxygen below the plane, this oxygen above the plane. So this sp2 hybrid orbital is like this, whereas this unhybridized p orbital is like this. Now, as I said, the bonding may occur between the LUMO of diene and HOMO of this. Right. So first we will write LUMO. What is LUMO? It is a Psi3. It is a Psi3. So yeah, this is the Psi3. This is the LUMO. And when it wants to form a bond, this is the sp2 hybrid orbital. sp2 hybrid orbital. Now, there is a suprafacial bonding interactions between these two orbitals and these two orbitals. Since it is a single system, it can form single atom system, it will form bonding with both the orbitals. Yeah, it is a suprafacial. Again, it is a suprafacial bonding interaction. So bond formation is possible. So there is no problem. We can also explain this using HOMO of diene and yeah, in this case, LUMO, what we say, p orbital. So p orbital is empty here, right? Again, I'll redraw the structure because only the orbital lobes will change, right? Positive and negative, but the basic skeleton is this only. So this is sp2 hybrid sulfur atom, which is having sp2 hybrid orbital, and we also have a p orbital. So in this case, what we will utilize is a p orbital. P orbital is empty, so it is LUMO, and we will use HOMO of diene. So in this case, if you want to say it is a HOMO, it is a Psi2 orbital, right? Psi2 means there is only one node, so it will be like this. Then in this case, what we will use is the p orbital. It is not the sp2 hybrid orbital, because if you want to use sp2 hybrid orbital, one side it is bonding interaction, suprafacial, it is fine, but other side it is giving anti-bonding interaction. Anthrafacial bond formation is not possible with this short chain. So this will not lead to the bonding. Then what we need to do, we need to take the p orbital. Then we will try to explain. P orbital, of course, one side it will have a positive lobe, other side it will have a negative lobe. In this case, yeah, these two are same phase orbitals, these two are same phase orbitals. So here suprafacial bond formation takes place. Here also suprafacial bond formation takes place. So absolutely there is no problem for the HOMO of diene to react with LUMO of sulfur dioxide. So the cheletropic reactions are possible either between the HOMO of one system, LUMO of the other system, or the reverse. Okay, absolutely no problem. So this is succinic anhydride, a dienophile. We don't have diene, but diene can be generated in situ under thermal conditions, because we know this sulfur dioxide 5-membered ring will undergo a cheletropic reaction so that it generates a diene plus sulfur dioxide. It is a gas, so it will be escaping from the reaction. So it is a cheletropic reaction which generates the diene. Then this diene will undergo Diels-Alder reaction with the dienophile. So it generates a 6-membered as well as 5-membered ring fusion. Of course, it is an endo product, endo selectivity. It should be a cis, either alpha addition or beta addition. So I have written according to beta addition. Similarly, you look at this example. SO2. This is an intramolecular cheletropic reaction followed by a Diels-Alder reaction. What is the product here? Right. So this generates a diene by expelling this sulfur dioxide. So it generates a diene like this. Then it will undergo an intramolecular Diels-Alder reaction with this dienophile. Here it is a 6-membered ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is again a 6-membered ring. So altogether we will get a tetracyclic system. We are getting a tetracyclic system. This is part of cholesterol, right? So this tetracyclic system is very famous in natural products, cholesterol. So we can simply construct this tetracyclic system using this cheletropic elimination followed by intramolecular Diels-Alder reaction. See how simple it is. Without pericyclic reactions, it would be a Herculean task to generate these tetracyclic system. Now I'll give you other examples where a carbon monoxide molecule is involved in the cheletropic reactions. this tetra substituted 5-membered carbonyl, when it is treated with a dienophile, here first it will undergo a Diels-Alder reaction. A Diels-Alder reaction takes place between this diene and dienophile. Since it is a triple bond, there will be another double bond, and we have a carbonyl like this. Of course, it is a tetra substituted system. Right. Under the same thermal conditions, you look, this will undergo a retro Diels-Alder reaction. So in this case, it is the carbon which is leaving a single atom center. So we can say it is a cheletropic elimination. So it will undergo cheletropic elimination. How? This double bond will be polarized towards this. So this carbon-carbonyl bond will be broken down. So carbon C double bond work becomes C triple bond work. Then this bond will be broken like this. Now you see the product. What is the product? It is a benzene with 6 substituents. You know, whenever we used to talk about the reactions of substituted benzenes, yeah, it is possible to have an ortho substituted, ortho disubstituted, meta disubstituted, para trisubstituted. Sorry, para disubstituted. But when we want to have a 1, 2, 3 trisubstituted, we always say it is not possible because the third substituent cannot attack the 1 to 3 third position because of huge spherical crowding. So that means it is in a general fashion, it is not possible to have a 1, 2, 3 trisubstituted benzene. Whereas in this reaction, you see the product is a hexa substituted benzene. All carbons in benzene are substituted. How beautiful it is, right? So with Diels-Alder followed by cheletropic reactions, it is also possible to have hexa substituted benzenes, and it is not possible to have this type of systems by any other reaction. So that is the importance of Diels-Alder reactions. Hexa substituted benzene is only possible under the pericyclic reactions. I'll give you one more example where this carbon monoxide cheletropic elimination is possible. When we have this type of systems, so this bridged carbonyl can be eliminated under cheletropic elimination conditions. What is the product here? Of course, here there are two reactions. One is cheletropic elimination, that generates that expels carbon monoxide, and second one is electrocyclic ring opening. Now, in the first case, first instance, when this double bond is pushed towards the carbonyl, so this carbon carbonyl bond will break down, and this carbon carbonyl bond will also break down, and it will be polarized like this. So in the first case, we will get a carbon monoxide as well as a fused system where we have a four 2 pi bonds. Now this will undergo an electrocyclic ring opening, 6 pi electron electrocyclic ring opening. So we can break this 3-membered ring like this, so that it generates a 7-membered system. Of course, I'll discuss these things during electrocyclic reactions, but here the product is this one. It is a homoaromatic compound. I'll give you 2 more examples where we can generate a diene using these cheletropic eliminations. This can be oxidized under acidic conditions to diazo system. So this is plus, this is minus. Of course, a double bond is there. Then under thermal conditions, it will break down to give nitrogen as well as a diene. So this can be used to generate a diene. A similar example is this one. Because we already have a nitrogen-nitrogen double bond, then it is easy to us to generate a nitrogen-nitrogen triple bond. So when we heat this, this reaction is happening at minus 78 degrees centigrade itself. What is happening? This bond will polarize. So nitrogen-nitrogen triple bond will generate, and this will be polarized like this. So it generates a nitrogen-nitrogen triple bond plus a 6-membered diene, because it is having a bridge system. So it generates a 6-membered diene. Not only dienes, we can also generate dienophile. For example, when we have this bicyclic system, nitrogen, nitrogen, then under thermal conditions, it is possible to expel this nitrogen, and we can generate a double bond here. So we can generate a dienes or a dienophile in situ. I'll give the Woodward-Hoffman rules for cycloadditions. I'll post it in the group. Okay, you add that Woodward-Hoffman rules to the your notes. Okay, so I'll post it in the group. Okay, Woodward-Hoffman rules for cycloaddition.